So for the young people who might be listening who may have just been referred to CAMHS, what is the first appointment like and what has changed from the beginning?
Before, when I was working in CAMHS in 1989, the people had, there was like a standard format, so it'd be sort of filled in by pen, like developmental history, when the problems start, how long have the problems been going on for, what is the family background. And what happens now is that is much more comprehensive, in terms of when it starts. So and clinicians are better trained, I would say, generally, to identify, to kind of signpost, is this child suffering from depression? Is this child suffering from anxiety? Is this child suffering from kind of neurological difficulties? Yeah, I think we're much better at identifying what could be kind of triggers, what is the causes of the, whether it's genetic causes or whether it's to do with like emotional difficulties or whether it's to do with a particular traumatic incident. I think we're much better through our training, which is kind of ongoing. There's mandatory training and there's continuous professional development training. So people are much better at doing that now, whereas before I think it was a little bit, if someone had an interest in something, it was more likely to be picked up. So I think universally clinicians are better at identifying kind of risk areas as well, and so it'd be an understanding the kind of differences as well. So for example, it's like everybody does safeguarding now. It wasn't like that before, because I remember when it first came in. Now it's compulsory supervision. It was a bit of a hit or miss. Now everybody has to have supervision every month. So much more quality standards are being met now, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a great journey coming into CAMHS, because so the training is better, our knowledge, our awareness is much better, but also there are new world difficulties for people to try and manage that. So there's lots of social media impact now. That was just never around, before, and we're trying to still play catch up with that.
Yeah.
I mean, the world is.
And COVID has made it such a difference. People seem to think, we're just COVID and it's just like for a couple of, that's made such a big difference in terms of our practice. There's, like exactly what Steve was saying, there's a different way of doing things and there's different difficulties. I mean, things like, and I don't think it's just about things that are like different because we're older, but there was no, there weren't no guns in the 70s, 80s, like not in kind of,
knife crime, gangs were not around.
The types of drugs are different. Now,
the influence on young people.
Much bigger. Everything seems to have been amplified. There's more crime, there's more gun crime, there's more knife crime, there's more atmospheric difficulties, there's
a lot of pressure to achieve in different ways socially. Compared to what it was like back in the day as well, isn't it?
I think it's a lot more
Lots of kids are expected to be older than their actual age now, which is such a difficult position to be in. So it causes stress.
Yeah.
And if you're also, because, you are a young age, so managing so many situations that you've never come across, you don't have the toolbox to manage that, so it affects your mental health at the end of the day, or can do.
I think young people, generally, I would say, that are a bit much more difficult now than in the past, and that's kind of reflected in the work that we do as well.
Yeah.
The
demand on the service now means things are splintered out, so they're departmentalised, and that means the journey of the patient, the journey of the young person or the child is departmentalised as well. So before it was a bit more all-encompassing. So now, because of the pressures, you could have a referral, you might be contacted by somebody, and you think, that's it, okay, I've got some help and support. No, that's just an assessment. And then there's the 12-month waiting list before you actually might start getting some support. But if you're 13, 12, 14 years old, 12 months, 18 months is an awful long time in your life. And so you're also, to a greater degree than an adult would be, you're a different person by the time you get support. And actually you needed it way back when. So that's quite a large chunk of your time on earth. So you're very different. Your relationships might have changed quite a bit as well, you know. So we are struggling to get the help to young people at the time that they really need it. I hope that really changes, but we desperately need more resources coming in. We need to find another way of doing things, really. We can't get staff since COVID has affected us as well. So there's loads of vacancies throughout the team.
I mean, the big thing that's changed also, I think, is that there's a move towards CBT at the moment. Not at the moment, it's been like that for about maybe 10 years or so, So CBT becomes like the most important thing, which can help some people, and it's right for some people, but for some young people, it's not right, because CBT works on a kind of model where it's short term. You might have like 8 sessions or 12 sessions. But sometimes you can't fit mental health problems just into those sessions, and some people need longer. But we talk about episodes of care where you just have X amount of sessions, and that's the hard thing, because the reality is that there's a lot of young people that need a lot more longer support, and that's not always kind of easily available.
Following on from an assessment, how do you build the first appointment, and how do you make a young person feel comfortable?
Well, everything for me is about engagement. So we don't work in a service where, I'm presuming you're thinking of coming into an office and seeing somebody in an office, which is your standard CAMHS appointment. So we do outreach. So often when we see somebody for the first time, it's after we've knocked at the door and the door's open. So that way, engagement is the key, constantly, all the time. Being very aware of what you say, not diminishing what somebody finds as a difficulty. Really take everything as it is presented. It's a genuine ask for help. It's a genuine need. So you can't diminish it in any way. But there's things that you might not realise that will diminish it. If you turn up late, I know what it's like, even if I'm getting a parcel delivered and they said it would be in the morning between 8 and 10 and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm feeling a bit, so you have to do that. You have to be positive. You need to be really working on their terms. So none of deciding what they need and delivering that to them. They've been there, they've seen more than we have in their lives. They know what they're talking about and they're the experts in their life. So we need to recognise that. Keeping them on board, is it? And looking at positive things as well. I don't know if you guys have got any experience within CAMHS or not, but one of the things that I've regularly come across is the support can often focus on the negative so much that it's not the greatest appointment to look forward to. But actually some humour, a few jokes. One of the things that we do is we're regularly taking kids out. So we'll go to McDonald's or Burger King or whatever. We'll go to the park and we'll have a game of catch, or just get away from the house for a while. We can play little board game type things. So it's also about just having a nice time and feeling comfortable with somebody. And for me, that's the major thing all the way through.
I think engagement is really important. So, because some young people don't like eye contact. So you can't. It's not one size fits everyone. So it might be that you're going out for a walk with someone. Just the fact you're walking side by side, some people prefer to come in a clinic and they want the kind of I want to sit. Other people want to go out. Most people want to go out and not be sitting in kind of a clinic setting. Giving a person the kind of opportunity to speak on their own. Sometimes it's with their parents. Sometimes it's good to just have their own space. And sometimes a young person says, "Well, I don't want mine, but I want my mum or dad there all the time," and that's fine as well. So, but it's having that conversation, and things can change A person might not want to see you on your own first of all until they get used to you. So it just depends on what it is, and it's important to be able to talk exactly what Steve said was about strengths, and then say, okay, if this is a strength, then what else could you do that's similar to this that you tried before? Yeah, and so it's kind of the psychoeducation bit comes in where you can provide ideas. Yeah, so let's try this, and what do you think about this? And they might say, okay, I will try or I won't try. Some people are like, I can fill in a diary. And some like, I don't like writing.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of be mindful about what a person is more likely, how they operate, whether it's more about they want to talk about their feelings or they want to talk about actual things I want to do and achievements. So it's what we bring to the table. Yeah? So we might be using CBT, or we might be using narrative practice or solution-focused practice. But whatever we bring, it's got to fit in to what the person wants to change, and not that they feel we're just there to ask them loads of questions and put even more pressure on the young person, because then that's not going to work anyways. Then it's a waste.
And being flexible.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a family who was interviewed a while back for a job, and that came up, and the young person had become psychotic, first episode psychosis. And so I was doing some family work with the whole family, so a lot of psychoeducation. And boy, they were such a loving, caring family. I turned up in the evening for the session. That was the best time for them. 11 people crammed into a living room and going through what they thought was happening for their relative. It was either going to be their son or their nephew or brother for those people there. And you never know what people are going to say. And the father thought that his son was so intelligent and so capable that in some way his brain exploded. And that's what caused him to become ill, And his sister, so early on with a psychosis, you can get this period that's called a prodromal period, where you have a lot of behavioural changes and you can be quite irritable, a bit angry at times, or more isolative. You just noticing changes in their behaviour. And his sister just found him so annoying, And once he became acutely ill, she was so guilty because she felt, I could have saved you. When you were coming to me and I was telling you to go away, get out of my face, I could have, and just coming across people's different ideas about what mental health is, whether you can help, how you can help, what the cause of it all is, Some people think it's contagious as well, still do. So you never know what's going to be on the other side of the door, and you really just have to work with everything on there. That for me has always been the best approach. And then you use the family work, the CBT, and the techniques that you have within all of that. So it's not you sit down there and formally do CBT, but you're using some of those techniques. Yeah.